Hello everybody, SlimKirby here, and welcome to the final extra video of the Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story playthrough. Last time we took on the Challenge Node Gauntlets, or at least classes 1 through 6 of the Challenge Node Gauntlet. There is a secret unlockable class, Class 7, once you beat the 6 original classes, and this class is very, very hard. Let's just say this class is unlike any of the other classes we've faced so far. And you're getting ready to see why right now. Okay, let's go ahead and do class number 7. You have to be level 50 and up. That's the recommended level. And you need to pay 5,000 coins to do this. And it's more than one fight. For class 7... you have to take on all 6 bosses again from the first 6 classes, along with a secret 7th boss. In other words, you have to do 7 boss fights in 35 turns. This is why I said, pay attention to your turn counts for each of the bosses. That will give you an idea of how this challenge will go for you. If you're basically struggling to just barely meet the requirements for all 6 of the main fights, you might need to do some grinding, because you're going to need to take care of some of these fights in a single turn or a few turns. Because otherwise you're not going to make it, because when you get to that final 7th boss, you have to keep in mind, you'll have to do that fight as well, and that fight can also take a couple of turns, so you really have to get a feel for each of these bosses, not just in getting them down fast, but also how to dodge some of their attacks too, especially the later bosses, because saving your health is very important for this class, because unlike the other classes, the items you get for the first fight, that's all you get for the entire gauntlet. You can get some more items through using the Mighty Meteor, which is another reason I do recommend you get better at that move. But, yeah, whatever you get and whatever you obtain through Mighty Meteor, that's all the items you're going to have. So you really, really need to optimize these fights, and optimize these fights well. Like I mentioned at the end of the last video, I did actually level grind. I level grinded up to level 50, which was the recommended level. I didn't get any higher than that, so I'm basically doing it at the lowest point that they recommend. And I wouldn't say it was free. I still had issues. This was like the 5th or 6th time of me trying this. I actually had a very heartbreaking attempt that I'll actually showcase later in the video. But yeah, essentially you just have to play through all 6 of the fights again. Definitely use the normal classes 1 through 6 to practice if there's a boss you're having trouble with optimizing. But I wouldn't worry about it too much. As long as you can get to the final fight with like 15 turns remaining, you should be fine. Like, the final fight shouldn't take you more than 15 turns. And I could usually get there with like 20 turns remaining, so it really shouldn't be too much of an issue. Just gonna go ahead and say that right now. But yeah, while you're going through this, definitely use Mighty Meteor a lot. Grind up as many items as you can. You tend to get max nuts, I think, the most. But honestly, that's fine. That's basically 120 HP for both bros, so even if you're just getting max nuts, that will still help you for the final few fights. So definitely don't think, oh no, it's not giving me deluxe 1-up mushrooms, or oh no, it's not giving me star candies. Honestly, max nuts are fine. They give you like a star candy, and they give you a 1-up mushroom, so if things get really bad, you have at least those to fall back on. But for the most part, just kind of use what you can get, basically. Max nuts are fine, and that's why I kind of mostly used Mighty Meteor this time around. And you also have to keep in mind that your HP and SP will carry over to future fights as well. So that's another reason why I used Max Meteor more than some of the other moves, because, you know, it attacks all targets, and it's also not as expensive as some of the other special moves, so that's why I kind of relied more on those attacks over some of the other ones. So as far as setups that I'm using, like I said, I'm level 50 here. But I actually had a similar build to both Mario and Luigi for this attempt. So both of them have the AOK wear, which is the best equipment that you can buy from the Star Shop. The best overalls or whatever. The normal equips that just increase your defense. And they also increase a bunch of other stats as well. I also have the DX PAL gloves for both bros, which will basically increase their attack power quite a bit. And for the third accessory, I actually have the Guardian socks. I actually had 2 pair of the Guardian socks, and those socks are the ones that basically restore a little bit of HP and a little bit of SP per turn. I was considering using some other equipment instead. There was the advice patch, which you know, does do extra damage based on whatever special attack that it selects for you. I did get some, you know, goodness out of that from some of the other matches I did. And I also had the budget charm on Luigi for a bit too, which increased the SP required for some of the special moves. But at the end of the day, I just kind of figured that, you know, getting SP was more important, just because, you know, it's a gauntlet. You have to fight a bunch of bosses. You know, even just like a couple of turns will basically be like plus 10 SP, and that's like more than half of your moves you can use for like 10 SP or less. So I think overall it's a good investment to just have that, and it'll give you some health every turn as well to make sure you're still fresh. Even if you take a little bit of damage, you can usually recover it pretty quickly anyway. But yeah, I had basically mirror builds on both bros. And I'm sure there's some other equipment that can actually be very effective too. There are some abilities where SP can cost more, but the attacks are more damaging. I thought about using that one as well, but over time I was like, I'm going to be trying to, especially for the later fights, I'm going to want to use like as many special attacks as I can with both bros. So I just kind of thought that was more important in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, that's basically my setup here. And like I said, like I'm basically 10 levels higher than what I was in the last video. So most of these fights, the enemies are actually going down a bit faster anyway. I had a little bit of trouble with these guys, the Minecraft bros, but that's only because I missed a couple of Mighty Meteors for some reason. Like, I'm getting so good at timing that, but like for this fight, I don't know, I just kind of like derped and just messed it up. So I just kind of resorted to using some of my other moves too, just to kind of get some extra damage in on them. And see, I'm actually surprised Luigi didn't heal Mario right there. But hey, he wants to die, so I'm going to give him his wish. I also decided to just use a normal attack there, because I thought he was close, but apparently he wasn't close enough. Plus, it actually gave me an extra turn to heal with Mario, since Mario had, he still had some extra SP that I used that Luigi hadn't used yet, so it's like I'll just use the turn to kind of heal up some of his SP. But yeah, I gotta say, doing this gauntlet was honestly fun. The last fight for this, which I'm not gonna spoil just yet, I mean, you can probably figure out what it is just by looking at the nature of this game. But still, I had a lot of fun trying to optimize this, trying to, you know, get my turn count down, making sure I had the best equipment. And it actually got me to try to, like, focus on, like, the special moves, and what's the best way to avoid some of these moves, if there's, like, some moves that, you know, are not worth focusing on, trying to dodge and just take the hit just so I can focus on something else. Stuff of that nature. I really kind of, like, put that into perspective while I was going through this. And it was kind of fun, taking on this challenge. I was actually really proud of myself for being able to take this down. And actually do this, like, within a week, because I was actually, like, worried if I'd even have this content ready for the next week after the main project ended. Because I only finished this project last week, and I was like, well, I do want to record the extra videos, but I'm worried if I can even, like, complete them, because first you had the challenge, or the Cholesterol, which you know, some of those mini games can be kind of hard to optimize, but I was able to do that, and then I was like, well, what if the boss gauntlet's too hard? What if I'm unable to do this? But I actually did it a lot faster than I thought I would, so I was actually pretty proud of myself, all things considered. But yeah, as you can see, even Junker kind of took a little bit of extra time to take down, too. But, I mean, I even had some issues with regular Junker, like just, oh, not regular Junker, but the first time I did Junker X, I mean, in the last video. But yeah, over time, I just kind of like, I got into the groove of taking down these fights as optimally as I could. Like, some of the fights, like Wisderm and Dermite, like, those are fights you can easily get done in one turn, like, easily. The second fight, I keep forgetting his name, Cretin, he'll take 2 turns no matter what. Maybe 3 turns if you get unlucky with the special move you use. But since you have to use both bros to get him out of that first phase or that first cycle, you know, it's going to be highly unlikely that you'll be able to do that all in one turn. Not highly. It's impossible. You can't do it in one turn. There's, like, no way. And then, for the Minecraft bros, like, that should only be taking you about, like, maybe 3 or 4 turns. Maybe 2 if you're very lucky. Junker should be taking only, like, 2 or 3 turns. And then you have Darkstar, which Darkstar can definitely vary. And it may also vary in a couple of different ways, too, where, you know, you get to a certain phase of Darkstar, like maybe you got rid of his shield, did some damage, but he reforms his shield. You might want to use, like, a turn or 2 just to heal up in preparation for the final boss. Like, that's something you may want to even consider when you're doing this fight. Because you will have some turns where you just can't do anything. Like, you can't do any damage to him. And, like, you can't do any damages to the satellite either. So it's like, well, I might as well heal them. And I definitely took advantage of that here. So, you know, Darkstar can definitely vary a bit. As long as it takes you, like, less than, like, I'm going to say, like, maybe 8 turns or less is usually fine. But even that, like, I still think I took care of him less than even that, either, too. And depending on, like, your damage output, there are times where you can actually take care of Darkstar in one cycle, like, before he reforms his shield. It is possible. You just have to get a couple of lucky strikes, and you may even want to consider using your excellent attack badge combo, so there is a possibility you can do that. And see, for that attack, as I said last video, I just tank the bomb with the other bros just so I can get the good timing on both, because if you miss that, if you miss the satellite, that's essentially like an extra turn or 2 you have to wait to get another one to appear. So it's like, taking that little bit of extra damage is not the worst thing in the world. So yeah, right here I was like, well, I might be able to take care of him in one strike. I'm not feeling too vulnerable. I also just really wanted to get back to the last fight because of the previous attempt. Which again, I'll talk about that in the next fight when we get to it. But yeah, so I did about, like, what, 1,800, so he has about 2,200 left. I think if I just keep spamming Falling Stars, I could actually take him out right here. Just kind of depends on if you think it's worth it, I guess. Like I said, there may be some value in actually, like, taking a turn to heal or something, and I would definitely recommend that. If you think it'll help you anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do Falling Star one more time. And that should do it for the Dark Star. Yes, that should definitely do it. Okay, guys, it's time for the final fights. Who are we gonna fight for the final Class 7 battle? We fought all 6 of the other bosses, but there's one boss that we've kind of forgotten about, and that is Bowser. That's right, Bowser is the final boss. Say hello to Bowser X. He has 7,155 HP. He is a beast, and he is very, very difficult. He is so threatening because so many of his attacks can do insane amounts of damage, some of which can even one-shot you. That's what makes this fight difficult, and there is another aspect that we'll see shortly. Another thing that makes this fight difficult is after you use a special move on him, he will actually inhale and suck up the ability for you to use that special attack for 5 turns. So you can't just spam falling stars on him. You need to use your other special moves. Otherwise, you're just going to be waiting until you get falling stars back, and that can take a while. It is very important that you learn, like, not even perfect timing for these attacks, but just learning, like, little optimizations here, like, especially for that Goomba attack, just trying to make sure that you can get, like, as much damage as you can on the Koopa King and taking as less damage as you can as well. That'll actually make this fight very, very simple, and you can actually get it down to a science. So I went ahead and popped the attack badge here. Decided, okay, let's go ahead and just use Falling Stars. This will do a lot of damage, and sure enough it will. This will do an insane amount of damage. Okay, maybe not insane, but it'll do over 1,000, and, you know, over 1,000 is basically 1/7 of his total HP, so definitely very important. That actually did, like, 1,600, too, which is actually pretty good. But yeah, be very careful in this fight. And take advantage of any instance where you can do damage to him as well. Like, you'd be surprised, some of those counter-attack attacks you can use against Bowser, those can actually be very helpful. Like, that stuff adds up, especially during the Goomba phase. But yeah, I got into a general pattern here where I was essentially only attacking with Mario. And Luigi was basically being the item user. So if there was any item I needed to use, like, Luigi would take care of it during his turn, and then Mario would attack. Because Mario had more damage output. That's why I kind of gave that responsibility to Mario. If I had, like, a special attack booster on Luigi, I would have done the opposite. But since Mario was the attacker, I decided to let him do all the special attacks, and Luigi would heal, and if he could actually get away with doing an attack, I would. But for the most part, though, he was the healer in general, he was the healer. Okay, so here's a unique ability that Bowser only does in this fight, the Shy Guy move. Because he actually didn't have the Shy Guys at this point in the game, like when we fought him the first time. And that attack does hurt, and it's also pretty hard to dodge, but, you know, you basically just keep doing that until you, until he stops moving, basically. But yeah, that's a unique ability that Bowser has in this particular fight, which is kind of cool. But yeah, that was my general, strategy for this fight. I got to this fight a couple of times. I kept dying, or I kept losing more brothers than what I had of my 1-up mushrooms. And basically it got to a point where once I ran out of 1-up mushrooms, as soon as a brother died, like, the attempt was over. There was no way that one brother was going to be able to do the rest of the damage needed to KO Bowser, so it just kind of became a, well, this run is basically over. So it just kind of got to the point where it's like, okay, well, I need to not only gain items, which is why I used Mighty Meteor more, because I could get more items leading up to this fight, and that way I had more opportunities to save myself if I needed to. So I'd use one of the brothers to heal and the other one to do damage. And like I said, you lose your special attacks for 5 turns, basically, too. So you have time to, like, you know, spread out those special attacks. Now, here's an attack you really have to look out for, because at this part right here, if Bowser touches you, you're pretty much one-shot. So you have to be very careful during that phase. Like, you really need to focus on your jumps for both brothers, because, again, if Bowser touches you, that bro is dead, pretty much. Maybe if, like, you're, like, level 99, you wouldn't die, or a much higher level with higher defense, you wouldn't die. But, at my level, and HP level, that would be a one-shot, essentially, so you have to be very careful during that attack. And in fact, it was really annoying because, and I'll go ahead and talk about this now, because I've kind of given the idea of how this fight works now. But in my previous attempt at this, I was actually on a really good run, and I was actually convinced that I was going to win on the previous attempt. But during that attack, my game actually froze again. And, oh my god, that was the most frustrating thing ever. It's just like, I was very far in the fight, I was easily, like, more than halfway done. And all of a sudden, just, the game froze. And it was so freaking crappy. I was so mad. I almost rage quit, but then I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it one more shot. And sure enough, this was that attempt where I was able to actually finish it, so that actually did help quite a bit. But yeah, like I said, this Goomba attack is great. You can do so much damage to Bowser through here. You have to keep in mind that every 2 Goombas is basically 100 HP to him. And, you know, if you really want to get into specifics, every 3 or 4 Goombas is like 200, and that stuff just really adds up over time. So it's very important that you just really get as much damage in as you can. Magic Window is another ability that you can get a lot of damage in on Bowser, because I think this ability actually goes on forever until you miss it. So if you've actually been practicing in the Cholesterol with this attack, you can actually use this as a way to get a lot of damage in on Bowser. I didn't actually do a great job with that attempt, but in my previous attempt, I had a really good Magic Window, so Magic Window can definitely be very helpful. But thankfully, we still have a lot of turns left, and I'm not really too worried about the rest of this fight at this point. But yeah, make sure you really pay attention on the bottom screen here. And, like, if you get hit by a fire, you still have a chance to recover, but, like, just try your best to focus as hard as you can during that. So as you can see, like, Bowser has still not given us back our special moves yet. So, like, I'm really trying to, like, utilize every single one of these special moves, because I know I'm going to get them back soon. And I used not only Magic Window, but also Mighty Meteorite early, so those are some pretty good abilities to come back to when they become available again, so at this point I'm feeling very confident about winning this fight. And see, that's like half of another 1,000 right there, and remember, he has 7,000 HP, so over time, like, you'll get a feeling like, I gotta be close. I gotta be close to doing this. I think right here I decided to use Snack Basket because, well, why not? I know it's a better use as like an attack all, but it's still a pretty decent damaging all attack move anyway, or attack move regardless. Really, the only 2 abilities I avoid using are the Fire Flower and the Green Shell, and that's really only due to damage output. I feel like those are like the weakest attacks to use, so I didn't bother trying to use them. See, this is another attack where you can get some, well, not some, just like a little bit of damage in. Okay, so we got our Mighty Meteorite back. But for this, I decided that, okay, maybe I should heal Luigi now. But Mario needed some health too, so I decided to use another Max Nut. And I think for Mario, I decided to use the Mighty Meteorite. And I think that we'll get magic, or not magic, we'll get falling stars next turn, so I have a pretty good feeling that this fight is about over. And see, every lucky hit I get is also basically an assurance that, okay, this is actually pretty close. Yeah, like I said before, I do think the Shy Guy move is, like, really, really hard to avoid. Like, the first few hammers are fine, but, like... Oh, man. Okay, there's our falling stars. I think for this one, I decide to use... I want to say I decided to use, like, something on Luigi. Or maybe I just decided to go for it, actually. I'm really trying to remember what I did. Okay, so I did heal with Luigi. And then I think right here, I looked at my meter. I'm like, okay, I'm one more excellent from getting the falling stars. Let me go ahead and use this. Get an excellent. And then I'll finish it next turn. That easily. Like, it's that simple. How could a simple plan like that fail? Well, turns out he was actually really close to dying, and I did it. I completed the Class 7 Boss Gauntlet. We get a really huge trophy for our victory. We also get a boatload of coins, too. This was a very well-earned victory, I gotta say. And as a final demonstration, I decided to go back to the credits after the game is over. Because if you remember correctly, at the very end of the game, that mysterious voice was like, "You should rank up more. You have done well. I have watched you. I will show you your ranks. Everyone grew super strong. You are amazing. Very well done. I rarely give praise to the unlighted, but you truly are absolutely amazing. And now I go." Beautiful words from a beautiful man. Okay, guys. Well, that's going to do it for the extras. That's all I wanted to showcase. So, with that, that is officially going to end the Bowser's Inside Story playthrough. I already kind of gave my final thoughts in the finale video, so I'm not going to really go over that stuff again. But, you know, like I said, there is a possibility that maybe in the future, if I can get my hands on the 3DS remake, maybe I'll do a stream playthrough and then, you know, kind of showcase some of the extra content that game has to feature. I probably won't do an entire another Let's Play for it because I think this game honestly is great on its own and it stands on its own as well. So it doesn't really need a whole nother playthrough to show off, but there is some unique content in the 3DS version, some unique modes as well. I believe there's actually, like, in addition to the challenge node boss gauntlet, there's also a boss gauntlet for the big Bowser fights as well, where you have to face off against all the castles and all the buildings, the train fight, all that stuff again. There's basically a gauntlet where you take on all of those as well. And as a result, you know, there's some new pieces of equipment you can win. Some of the mini games and some of the just general mechanics are altered a bit. For like some of the cholesterol and massage mini games, the requirements are different and the rewards are different. I know that one of the big things a lot of people talked about was the train fight is actually a lot easier in the 3DS version because of you can actually control the microphone controls down to a button in that one, so it's a lot easier to get excellence. So little optimizations like that. There have obviously been changes in the 3DS version, and of course there's also the just the Bowser's Jr.'s Journey, which is just like kind of like some extra gameplay mode options throughout the game. That's more than just what you do with Bowser and the Mario Bros. So there is some unique content in that game. I'm not going to go over every individual thing in this video, but, you know, like I said, that might actually warrant another stream playthrough at some point in the future. And there is actually one more shout out I want to make before I close this project. I actually meant to say this in my finale video, but I actually forgot about it. But I do want to give a big thank you to SigYoshi, who is actually the artist behind the SlimBowser icon that I've been wearing as my channel logo throughout this project. I'm going to keep this as my channel icon for like the next few weeks, but at some point I will be switching back to my normal SlimKirby icon. But I do want to really thank her for making such a great icon. I've really loved having this, and I may actually even keep it on a few of my social media platforms because I just really love the icon so much. But yeah, thank you so much for creating this for me. I actually commissioned her to make this icon for this project, and oh my god, I was really happy with the final product for it. Like, I was really thrilled when I got the icon, and I was like so happy to make that video showcasing it and everything. But yeah, I wanted to give that thank you out there because, you know, that was essentially what I started the project with, was just kind of this icon to tease this project, and lo and behold, it was a fun project. I really enjoyed playing this game for you guys. But yeah, that's going to do it. Thank you guys for watching the Bowser's Inside Story playthrough. I had a lot of fun going through this, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. This has been SlimKirby
and SlimBowser.
Hey, SlimBowser, you made it after all.
Well, yeah, I mean, come on. I couldn't just say my piece in the finale video and never come back.
Well, hey, I'm glad you came back. It's been a lot of fun working with you on this project, and I look forward to other appearances you may show in future videos of mine.
Yeah, I can't wait to show my awesomeness and kick butt and destroy that pesky plumber once and for all.
Okay, Bowser, okay. Let's not get too carried away here. You'll definitely come back, and you'll definitely be able to do that for sure. But for now, this has been SlimKirby
and SlimBowser,
and we'll see you guys next time.
Later, folks.